Is it 9? Oh, we got another minute. All right. We got another minute. It's all right. How's everybody's Tuesday? Is it Tuesday? It's Tuesday, right? You guys going to our workshop this weekend? Put a 1 if you come into the workshop this weekend. I talked to somebody. I forgot. I was one of these calls. I said, well, I'll cover that at the workshop this weekend. I was like, it's not on my budget. I was like, free is not in your budget. Am I missing something? What's up, Proctor? What's up, Sophia? We're gonna get started it's 9:00. Let's get started now. How about that? All right, let's jump into it. Let me go live here and let's go live there. All right, folks. We're doing it again every Tuesday and Thursday and some one-offs. My name is Otis James. I'm a full-time real estate investor out of the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm a long-term hold investor. I'm a licensed real estate broker in a couple states, former mortgage broker. I served in the military, but I also served the better part of 20 years in the multifamily commercial industry. I consult on multiple projects, domestic and abroad, my own and other people's. There's the invite. Okay. All right. We got a pending appointment. All right. I will check that. Spent the better part of 20 years in the multifamily commercial industry, overseeing just short of $650 million in multifamily commercial assets. I'm licensed in insurance. I'm not in the insurance business, but so I can speak intelligently about it, I got licensed in it. Is that the reason I got licensed in it, or did I actually think I was going to go into insurance? But I did get licensed in it. Just about every aspect of real estate, I have some sort of familiarity with. I was 3 years old going to real estate meetings with my father. I've been exposed to real estate my entire life, different aspects. I've been investing for some time. I'm the founder of the 4 Data Points Academy, which is a real estate investing training platform where we take people from zero or limited knowledge or even intermediate to advanced real estate investors. What's going on, Rose? Rose, go ahead and come up here. James, tell everybody who you are and where you're from, man, and how you rocking them purple or silver wreaths.
Purple.
Yeah,
But I'm interested to know where you were going with that.
Yeah, no, it's colorblind. Sorry.
What's up, everybody? Good morning or afternoon, I guess, or depending on where you are. My name is James Lewis. I am a business coach or a business consultant, depending on whether or not you have employees. That is the aspect that I bring to the 4 Data Points. So I've been very, very blessed, very lucky that I've had a long career over a couple of decades. Doesn't matter how many years. I don't like to date myself. Working for some of the most successful companies on the planet and senior leadership roles. And, one of the things that I like to point out to people is the most accomplished business people aren't necessarily, folks that you think about that own their own businesses. They're people that are running Fortune 500 or Fortune 50, in my case, companies that make, $100 billion a year or, $80 billion a year. Those folks, as you can imagine, know quite a lot about business and leadership and how to run an organization. And so I've been very blessed to be part of groups like that. And so I take that aspect to real estate investing. And the most, as you can, in the same vein, the most successful real estate investors think of real estate investing as a business. And I have a strategy for that is designed specifically for real estate investors that I've created for the 4 Data Points. And so I like to share that as part of these groups here. And when you join the 4 Data Points Academy, as many folks do, for example, in our event that we have coming up this weekend, then you have an opportunity to be part of that and to learn those business aspects.
Amen. Tavares, young brother, what's going on, sir? Tell everybody who you are and where you're from. What's up, Instagram folks? Go ahead, Tavares. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good, my man. Tavares here from the San Francisco Bay Area. Spent 10 and a half years in property management. Started off as a concierge, then moved to a business manager. Leased everything from residential up to high-rise luxury, and have known Otis and James just over 38. I think we're pushing about 39 years here. I'm also a health and transformation educator by trade. Founded the Body Synthesis, where we mitigate health risks through preventative medicine coaching. Also serve as the manager of student relations here at the 4 Data Points Academy. So welcome, everybody. Welcome. Set your stage. Let's get ready to learn. We're going back to the basics now. We're going back to the basics. So let's be intentional with where we are today. Let's show up and let's get it.
Hey man, I don't know. As soon as you said 39 years, me and James looked at each other like I don't know who he's talking about. 39 years. I'm 30. So
Look, anybody who's been doing a thing for 39 years must be like 80, right?
yeah, that's what it sounds like.
At least.
I was watching this video of me. I don't know where it came from. You know, Apple products, they save everything to the cloud, and like 15 years later, it'll be like, "Hey, remember this video?" And it was me talking about being. This is when I was representing other people. Still, I mean, I still can represent other people. I just don't because I can't justify the time. But as a licensed real estate professional, man, and it is. It was a trip. I'm gonna play it for you, James. I'm not gonna play it now, but I'm gonna play it for you, man. And you talk about coming a long way. I'm gonna post that up and see what people say. But today we got Credit Goddess here. Credit, you with us? I never give her any notice. Credit God, there she is.
I am.
Tell everybody who you are, what you do, sis.
Hey everyone. My name is Rose Delora Lewis. I am also known as Credit Goddess. I'm all things credit. I assist my clients in getting in the best position credit-wise for funding, whether it's to purchase a home, purchase that brand new car, refinance that brand new car, or start a business. Whatever it is, credit is needed so that way you can get the best rate and the best term. It's not just about getting approved, but it's all about getting the best, what I say, cheap money. Cheap money. A lot of people are financed. Yeah, cheap money, less expensive. A lot of people are financing with high interest rates, and that's what's drilling a hole in our pocket. So it's about having the best credit to get the best rate and the best term, and just knowing about that. So that's what I do. And you know what, James, if you're there, I'm getting so many people approved pre-revenue funding and pre-revenue funding. And the question that I always get is, what do I do with this money? I need somebody to touch on that. I don't even want to touch on that. I don't want to embark in that section. I don't know if you want to take that on, but I need someone to talk to these people about how to disperse these funds and how to use it and make more money.
We're gonna
it's a conversation that needs to be had.
We'll talk
let's
about
do it.
that.
I mean, we did that. We did that. One webinar a while ago. We can do that again.
Yeah, we can. We're gonna get into. We'll get into that today. Do you guys ever just go ahead, James? Sorry.
Yeah. So there's one other thing though that I always have my Rose intro. I haven't done it in a while. But one of the things that I always like to highlight whenever Rose is in the building is, look, a lot of times when we hear about credit, and I'm talking to you investors or people who are wanting to invest, okay? A lot of times when we hear the word credit, immediately what we think about is, hey, repair, or we need to improve our credit. Folks, we need to get beyond that conversation, okay? So if you're in that position, that's fantastic. That's great. And Rose can help you with that. But here's where really the magic happens is there's people who have good credit and have great credit, but they don't quite know what that means or how to use it. And as an investor, that's really where Rose is the most powerful as an advocate and as a guide for you, is how do I take my good credit and do the most with it? And one of the things that I always like to point out, and this happens with credit and with money, people with resources often get overconfident, right? Hey, I've got an 800 credit score. I'm overconfident. I can do anything. Hey, I've got, $500,000 in the bank. I can do anything. Well, if you don't have somebody guiding you, right? You don't know what you don't know, right? Then you don't have somebody who can say, no, wait, here's how you do the most with it, right? You don't just do one investment. Oh, wait, you can actually do 3 or 4 at the same time. You can actually save a whole bunch of money. I can go on and on and on. And so that's one of the things that Rose is really powerful as a partner. So go ahead.
Shout out, Rose. Appreciate you. Are we ever going to have that phone call, or are we just going to keep? Are we just going to keep playing?
We just gonna keep playing, Otis.
I just get so.
We just gonna keep playing.
Man, I've been trying to have
forget
that
you're
call.
supposed to call me.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know if you're supposed to call me or am I supposed to call you?
The sad part
What are we
is,
supposed to be doing?
I've called you for other things and we still haven't had the conversation. So, folks, we're looking at
because you put other people first. Because you put other people first.
I do put other people first because they are paying me too. They are called real estate family members.
Yes, I got you. Yeah.
But we are looking at, we're already expanding into, Dr. Alfred Smith is not here on with us today, but we're expanding into leadership and some personal development, self-image curriculum. So we have some other programs that we're rolling out, and how to manage debt is going to be one of those. So we're kind of, and that's part of the reason why I haven't prioritized it yet, Rose, is because we're launching, in phases. But you are definitely somebody that I want to be involved in that, because you are one of the folks that takes a reasonable approach to credit. It's not always just, hey, how do I fix my credit, or how do I circumvent the system, or how do I take a shortcut? And you know how it's everything you see on the internet, man. It's just all garbage when you start talking about credit and all these other things. It seems like everything's a scam, right? Or just looks scammy, right? There's just, oh my God, James, I'm not going to do that today. I'm not going to do that today. Let me just thank Rose for being here. Let me thank Rose for being here. Folks, we're going to get into some real estate investing strategies. I can go off on that tangent and then we never get started, right? But what I want to do today, we're going to talk about different phases of the real estate investing journey. And James was talking about the credit aspect, because you can go a lot further if you know how to manage debt. And you guys hear me have quite a few conversations centered around how my stomach cringes when people pay cash for properties and leave the cash in there just for the sake of paying the property off and not actually running the numbers to see how much further ahead they could come if they were managing debt or leveraging debt the appropriate way. So we're going to talk about that. So we have the acquisition, we have operations, we have exiting out of the deal, and it could be a big deal, it could be a small deal. And we'll answer questions today. I didn't have a format today. I figured we'll just answer any questions and see where the conversation takes us. Tavares, if you could look at the Clubhouse chat and make sure that there's no questions there. You folks on Instagram, you guys are more than welcome to leave a question there. Same with the folks on Facebook. You can leave a question there, and we'll just jump into it. But I'm going to go to James first, because James, you have significant amount of experience on the lending side, and there's a lot of misconceptions that I think people have about the lending. So James, if you could just go through the lending process, starting from somebody calls you and says, hey, James, I have this deal. What type of questions are you asking them? How are you kind of pre-qualifying them in your head before submitting? Is there any things that you make sure that they need to know? So I'll kick it to you.
Yeah. So basically, so there's a few things. Let me just start from someone with no experience at all. Okay. What you want to understand is, hey, what's my budget? What I mean by that is, a lot of times folks, they want to get into an investment, but really they don't know, like, how much investment can I buy? So should I be purchasing a property that's $200,000, $300,000, $1 million? And if people don't know, they might be looking outside their budget. And so a lot of times what that comes down to is a down payment, right? And so I can understand what kind of down payment will be required by knowing a few things. So I'll want to know, do you have any experience? I'll want to know, what's your credit score? Because most people are going to use hard money lenders, right? And the reason we use hard money lenders is because they're going to pay for your rehab, which, by the way, a lot of people don't know that. A hard money lender, one of the reasons we use hard money lenders, and one of the reasons we don't care about the fact that they charge more interest, is because they're paying for your rehab, okay? But the way they determine how much your down payment is going to be is your experience and your credit score. Okay. Now, they don't typically get into your credit report. They don't typically care. But what they do look at is the score. Your score is kind of the qualifier. So they take those two things in combination to say, okay, you're going to have a 10% down payment, a 15% down payment, 20, 25, or whatever. So that's the first thing I want to get an understanding of is what's your experience level. Okay. Next thing I want to understand is the deal itself. And so one of the things that lenders are like really good investors. That's how you want to think about that. A good home rental lender is like a really good investor. In other words, they understand what a good deal looks like. And so they'll want to understand everything about your deal. And so I want to understand your deal too. So, for example, they're going to get into a whole bunch of things with initials. Stuff like LTVs and all this sort of stuff. They just want to basically know how much did you buy it for versus how much can it sell for, right? Which is why the 4 data points are so important. And they want to know how much is your rehab. And so they're going to take the combination of how much you bought it for and how much the rehab is going to be. And then they're going to come up with a percentage and versus how much it's going to be worth when it's fixed up. All right. Now, if that number is too high, they're not going to like the deal. If that number is under a threshold, that threshold is typically 75, 70, 65%, they'll like the deal. Okay. Now, if it's more than that, sometimes they'll still like the deal. They'll just ask you to pay more. So, for example, if a lender says, hey, this is over 65%, we only do 65%, anything more than 65%, you're going to have to come up with that as part of your down payment. Okay. But then me as an advisor, I might say to you, you might want to think about whether this is a good deal or not. Okay. And so that's some foundational things. All right. So what the lender is going to what I'll be asking you for, or a lender will ask you for, is they're going to ask about the deal itself. They're going to ask you about you, right? And your finances. And so they might ask for, your bank statements. They're going to know how much money you have. And they're going to want to know your credit score. And then those are the two situations that they want to know. They want to know about the deal. Oh, and the property. They also want to know about the actual property. So they'll send out an appraiser. Sometimes they actually send a person out. Many times they don't. Many times they'll do, kind of call it a virtual appraisal. They usually call it a desktop review. And they'll say, hey, we're not going to send somebody out, but just take a few pictures for us. And we'll look at all the data we have and take into account your pictures, and that'll be good enough for us. So some lenders will do that. So they take those things, the property, the deal itself, and everything about you, and that's how they come up with whether or not they'll lend to you, and if they lend to you, what exactly those terms will look like. Here's how you should also be thinking about this, and this is kind of the bottom line of it. All lenders are pretty close to the same, but they all have something that I call guidelines, right? And what guidelines are is it says, hey, we like loans that look this way, right? Because every loan is a little bit different, right? And so maybe one lender likes loans that are under 65%. Maybe one lender likes loans that has folks that are above 720 credit scores. And so there's just different pieces. So every lender has particular guidelines. Everything is about the guidelines. That's the bottom line of where I try to get people to understand. Where people get caught up, and because we're used to the consumer environment, people get caught up thinking about interest rates and fees. And what I try to get people to think to say is, or to understand is, forget about interest rates, forget about points, forget about fees. What you want to understand as an investor is guidelines, because you want the right lender and the right program for your specific deal. And so if you're working with somebody, you want to work with somebody who understands investing so that they can find the right loan for your particular deal.
Amen. So it's typically broken down into 3 categories. As James mentioned, they want to know about you, they want to know about the asset, and they want to know about the entity that you're using.
You still here?
Oh yeah. Hello?
We can't hear you.
All right. Hold on one second. Well, let me leave and come back and see if James can pull me up. Hold on one second. Shout out to Clubhouse, freaking free. James, you're on mute on StreamYard, so just hold on one second. Let me get back into the. Let me get back into.
Hey, you're no longer on Clubhouse.
I know. I'm trying to get. So just let everybody know I'm trying to get back. All right. Here we go. Now, there we go. Welcome back. Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yeah.
All right. Shout out to Clubhouse, and I would complain to their customer service, but it's free, so you get what you pay for. All right. So what I was saying was, and it just goes out for no freaking reason.
I thought it was my Colombian internet, so I didn't say nothing at first.
You thought it was your 56K modem. You was like, oh well, let me check the plug in the wall. You young folks will never know about that 56K modem connection that we used to be so excited to get that. You've got mail. Oh, everybody, I got an email.
Hey, hold on, man. I remember the 14.4.
Oh, I don't remember. That's you talking about on the phones that came with the house. Remember the phones that came? All right, we're getting off track. All right, so when you guys are working with lenders, they're going to want to know basically three things and a couple one-offs. They want to know about you. They want to know about your the entity that you're using to acquire the real estate, and they want to know about the asset itself. So when you submit to these hard money lenders, first you got to understand they don't all have the exact same guidelines. They have a lot of flexibility, although they typically share a lot of the same rules. It's just a lot of these rules are customary, but they don't have to answer to anybody outside of their investors. When you're going to places like Chase or Bank of America and you're getting a conventional mortgage, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, those government organizations set the rules and the guidelines, and all of those banks have to adhere to those rules and guidelines. That's a separate conversation. But they want to know about you, first of all, right? So they want to know about your experience, like James was talking about. So when if I'm facilitating a loan for somebody, and that first submission that the hard money lender gets, they acknowledge it, and then they send you a laundry list of stuff you gotta turn in. So about you, they're going to want to know a schedule of real estate, because some lenders equate property ownership to experience. So let's say a lender says, hey, you got to have 3 deals to no longer be considered a beginner. Let's say you have 1 flip, but you own 2 rentals. In most cases, that's your 3, right? Right. All right. Sorry about that. In most cases, that's your 3. The example I just gave, somebody was calling on one of my phones. If a lender says that you need 3 deals to no longer be considered a beginner, and you have, let's say you did 1 flip and then you have 2 rentals that you own, they'll consider that 3 deals, most of them. All right. So they want to know about your experience level. They want to know about what you're doing with the property. They're not going to send an appraiser out to the property until they know how you're going to improve it. So they're going to want to see things like a scope of work, right? Scope of work is basically an itemized list of everything you're going to do with the property and how much it costs. I have multiple versions of that. I have a scope of work I use for my actual contractor, and then I have a scope of work that doubles as my budget that I send to the lenders. Okay. Now they're going to want to know. Now remember, they're going to want to know about you and your experience, the entity itself, not the entity, the subject property itself, and your entity. That should be the easiest requirement to fill, because you are utilizing an LLC or whatever you're utilizing. God, I'm too accessible. Hold on. You're utilizing an LLC to do all these things. Hopefully you guys are advanced enough so you're not doing a lot of this stuff in your personal name. Those documents associated with your entity, you should have at the ready. You should be able to email those in 10 seconds. All right. And then if you're in a deal, which you should be, they're going to want some other information. For example, they're going to want to know, what closing company are you using? I've seen people get into deals and forget to hire a closing company or a title and escrow company, depending on where you live. I've seen them forget to do that, right? So this laundry list of requirements that this hard money lender sends you reminds you, well, I guess I better do that. I guess I better do that. How do you turn these iPhones on to do not disturb?
Hey, before you move on, you mentioned the entity.
Uh-huh.
So a lot of people aren't aware. Most lenders are not going to lend to you in your personal name, and so a lot of folks aren't aware of that. And so a lot of folks, when they're getting started, they don't have an entity yet. You have to get one.
Yes.
So most lenders are not going to lend.
Yes.
Well, they do. So we can go back and forth about why they just do,
yes.
But that's the way it is.
Yes. Yes. And I don't like that question. Well, why? Why do they need this? Why do they need that? Because they do. I don't want to get into, I don't work there. I can't tell you why. So a couple other one-offs that they're going to need is they're going to want to know, all right, who's your insurance carrier for this property? And I hate the, what's up, Tavares? I hate the, I hate that. Tavares, hold on. You're going to have to go on. You're going to have to mute one of them, Tavares. Okay. I got too many connections going on. So they're going to want to know about your insurance. They're going to want to know about the closing company. They're going to want that contact information because the closing company is going to be coordinating with everybody. If you don't have insurance, which you shouldn't, because you shouldn't have insurance on a property you don't own yet, that's your cue to go get it. When they say who's the closing company, if you haven't opened up escrow, that is your cue to do that. Right? We try to get people out of the why, because that can be really, really frustrating, especially if you are already in a deal and you are laxed about meeting all these requirements. These folks do not care if your deal goes in the trash. They do not care. There is no special considerations that most of them are going to make because you're taking too long to get your documentation in order, or you want to know why, or you want to complain about it's a hassle. That's partly why I stepped back from lending. And we had funded over just short of $1 billion when I was in the mortgage industry. And that frustration was just too much for me. All right. There's a certain mentality that I had to deal with there, but they're very transparent in the things that they need. You can go to their website, you can look at all of their requirements. You can look at what they'll lend on, what they won't lend on, and how much they'll lend on a particular asset. James was talking about them, all the initials, right? You got to understand what the initials are. When you, is it initials or is it, okay, we'll call them initials. LTV, loan to value.
Well, it's not an abbreviation. Were you going to say abbreviation?
No, man. I just, one of my old VPs said, she used to nerd out to all types of stuff, and she was like, "Are you familiar with initialism?" And I was like, "Yeah, initials, like, and it wasn't what I thought." But I didn't want to go down that. I didn't want to go off on that tangent because I'd have to shut this broadcast down and go start Googling a bunch of stuff. But basically, there is things like LTV, LTP, LTARV, and you've got to know what these things are. And I think that when you are getting into this space, if you don't know what these things are, you can get tripped up. When you get into creative finance and structuring deals creatively, you really have to know what these things are. And the biggest difference that people overlook is LTP and LTV. LTP is loan to price. So if you're purchasing something, you don't own it yet. If you're purchasing something, that's the lender telling you how much, expressed as a percentage, that they'll lend on the property relative to the purchase price. LTP, loan to purchase. So if they have 80% loan to purchase, that means they will fund 80% of the purchase amount, regardless of how much it's actually worth. So if you are working with a hard money lender and you manage to get a great deal, right? You got a house worth 200 grand and you've managed to buy it for 100 grand. The lender is only going to give you 80% of what you're buying it for, not of the 200 grand that it's worth. Now, where it's important to understand the distinction is if you already own the property, they will give you 80% LTV. That's of what it's worth, of the appraised value. The reason why it's important is because when we're structuring deals creatively, that could be the difference between you coming in with 20,000 and you coming in with nothing and making 20 or 30,000 on the deal. Okay. So let me give you that example really quick of what that looks like, because this is important to understand how funding works, how these rules work. I'm going to buy a property from James, and it's the property I just mentioned. It's a $200,000 property. It just needs a little cosmetic work, but James has got to get out of there. He's got some gambling debts, the mafia's after him, whatever it is. Maybe he's got a job in, Okinawa, right? He's got to get out of here. Maybe he's divorced, and he's trying to liquidate. Whatever the reason, I managed to get this property for a discount. So I go to my lender and I say, "Hey, lender, I'm super excited. I got this $200,000 property. I'm buying it for $100,000. Can you finance it?" They'll say, "Absolutely, and congratulations." They always so enthused for you until the underwriter gets it. So I say, "All right, what do I have to come in with?" They say, "Well, we'll finance 80% of it. You just got to come in with 20%, which is great, because what I plan to do is come in with, if I have to, come in with 20%, $20,000, get the property from James, and I can make some minor improvements. I don't really have to, but I'm going to increase the value. I got it at such a discount. The value is already built into it. All right. And then I'm going to exit. And out of my exit, I'm going to pay off all of my obligations. Let me simplify that. If I'm going to buy a property, I got to come in with a down payment. That's the conventional way of doing things. Okay. That is LTP, loan to purchase. They're not going to finance 100% unless you're doing a VA loan. And there's some other programs that you can do where they'll finance a little bit more, but a lot of those programs aren't available for investment properties. Now, remember, we're talking about the difference between loan to purchase and loan to value, because people interchange them all the time. Now, imagine I already own the property from James. I just haven't paid for it yet. So I say, "Hey, look, James, I'm a seasoned investor. I'm going to put some extra money in your pocket if you allow me to do this creatively." So James deeds the property over to me. I provide some security for James. We have all of our documentation in order, so I can't just run off after he deeds it over to me. But now I own the property. I haven't paid for it yet. Me and James worked that out separately. So I still owe James that $100,000 plus any incentive that I offered for him to work with me. And we took that debt and we actually attached it to the property. We registered that debt with the county via security instrument. That lien is on the property. So if I default, James can foreclose on it, just like a lender can foreclose when you don't make your mortgage payment. Now I go back to that lender and say, "Hey, how much will you finance?" They'll say, "Well, 80% loan to value." See, I already own it. There's no LTP. There's no purchase. I already own it. So the value is 200. We established that in the beginning. What's 80% of that? 160,000. So here's the picture we just painted. James deeded the property over to me for no money up front. Okay. I got it at a discount. That equity was already built in there. And again, we can do some cosmetic stuff on the rehab side. Now I go back to a lender and say, "Hey, I need to do a cash out refinance." The lender's going to send an appraiser out. That property appraises for 200,000. The lender already said they'll finance 80% of that. That's 160. Now I've got a mortgage. That lender is wiring $160,000 into escrow. And when that escrow officer or closing attorney, depending on where you live, when they get those funds, the first thing they're going to say is, "All right, let's see what debts have to be paid out of this 160,000. And the escrow officer is going to say, "Okay, so there's a lien on the property for $100,000 in favor of, James Lewis," or whatever entity he used for that property, right? So the escrow officer is going to call James and say, "Hey, James, we have some payoff requirements. How much does Otis owe you?" James is going to say, "Oh, well, he owes me 100,000. James is going to send a document in saying how much it costs to pay off that lien, and then there's going to be a release involved after that. So the escrow officer says, "All right, great. We'll pay off that 100,000. Now, there was probably some incentive in there that I gave to James to work with me, right? Otherwise, he could have just sold it on the open market. So let's say I offered James another $10,000 to go ahead and help me structure this deal creatively. That's his reward for working with me, an extra 10 grand. Now, that debt that's attached to the house, it was the $100,000 we agreed to during the purchase and the $10,000 incentive. So the total debt on that property is $110,000. When that $160,000 mortgage comes in from the new lender, they're going to pay off that $110,000. I got $50,000 left. So anything left over after all debts are paid goes to me. That's why they call it a cash out refinance. James is taken care of. He's got his 110,000. I got to pay closing costs and all these other, whatever the fees are, right? But let's say there was some rehab stuff that needed to be done. Let's say it was $20,000 in rehab stuff. Okay, whatever you want to call it. That's 110,000 to James. That's a $20,000 for the rehab. Remember, I got 160 coming in. So after that 130,000 goes to James and to rehab costs, I still got $30,000 to work with tax free, right? Now minus points, fees, and all that other stuff. But I'm going to take that money and go secure another cash flowing asset. But what people don't realize is just understanding how to structure these deals is the difference between me having to come in with $20,000 and me making $20,000 or $30,000 on my exit. All right. Just because we did things a little bit differently. Now, there's a lot in between that people have to understand to make that work. Right. One, I got to be able to explain to James how that works.
Hey, we can't hear you.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Hold on. All right. Hold on. All right. They can never hear me. Good. All right. That's the thing about doing it on all these platforms, man. You just shout out to Clubhouse, you raggedy. Oh, I'm still on the other stuff. Still on here. All right. I'm still on the other stuff. Y'all bear with me and let me get back into my own room. Okay. All right. All right. And I'm back. Shout out to the people.
Back.
Shout out to the people at Clubhouse. They just not even at work. I think they're working from home and just they don't even have no computers. All right. So understanding the difference between the LTP that lenders that lenders express and the LTV can be the difference between you having to come in with a down payment and you making money out of the deal, right? So I hope you guys got most of that, even though Clubhouse was acting up. I know you folks on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook got it. All right. So let's talk about the different phases, right? So the lending is one thing, and just make sure whoever you're going to do your financing, and this is something you guys really have to, you really got to pay attention to this. Just because you don't need a mortgage license to deal with most of the asset-based lending companies out there. All right. So there's a low cost barrier to entry for people that want to make some money. They can facilitate these loans, and that's great. But you've really got to check their experience because they can kill your deal. All right. And there's a lot of things that can kill your deal. Okay. And we want to make sure that you're not just jumping into something because the opportunity presents itself. So if you are in the real estate investing space, you got to prioritize some things. Before you even get into the lending, you got to understand how to assess a deal, and you got to be able to look at a deal like your lender's going to look at it. If a lender won't finance you in your particular deal, find out why, because it may not be a good deal for you to get into. Now, I can, there's certain risks that I'm willing to take, and there's certain risks that I'm not willing to take. I get frustrated with a lot of lenders because there's times where we disagree on what a good deal is. And I have more experience than them, than 99.9% of them, right? So that can be an issue. And the issue with having somebody facilitate your financing that doesn't have the experience is what happens is you have an earnest money deposit put down. And if you're using wholesalers or doing anything outside of the ordinary, that earnest money deposit can be put in jeopardy if your deal gets killed. All right. And no one cares but you. That's the truth. Right. So one of the reasons to have a mentor is so that you can look at all of these things prior to going in. Right. And the tool that I give to people that are not in our real estate family is that 4 data points guide. You better master that, because if you don't, you are going to get taken to slaughter. All right. James, is there anything you want to add to that before I go on?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that you just said, I would really emphasize, you said that, hey, if the lender has a problem with something in your deal, it might not be a deal for you. Folks, that's a huge red flag. It's a huge red flag if the lender doesn't like the structure of your deal. Now, I'm just talking about if it's a standard fix and flip deal, okay, nothing creative about it, right? That's what I'm talking about. If that's the situation, standard fix and flip, nothing creative, and the lender doesn't like something about the structure, that's a red flag for you to say, hey, is this really a good deal? Because the lender doesn't think so. Look, they're all about mitigating risk. It means that there's some risk involved. And the other point that you made, I think, is really a really good one about the earnest money. So, we get emotional about the earnest money, and we should. We don't want to lose our earnest money, but it's good to have somebody who's objective who will say, hey, look, do you want to lose this $4,000 earnest money, or do you want to lose $20,000 on this deal, right? Sometimes we got into a deal we shouldn't have, and we just got to learn. So, look, sometimes we're going to lose earnest money. As an investor, we're not going to win everything, and we got to be able to walk away when it's time to walk away. When the 4 data points no longer work, because sometimes things change, right? Sometimes things change. Sometimes we go into a deal and the 4 data points, they came out great. But something changed during the process. Look, maybe the appraisal didn't come out the way that we thought. Maybe something happened between the time that we started and we found out more about the rehab than we thought. Some things have changed that calculation. And I've already put my earnest money down. Sometimes we got to be able to say goodbye to it, and that's the life of the investor. What being part of, and what having a mentor helps you do is to be in those positions less, right? We want to be in those positions less, and then we want to know, hey, what are our options if we do get in those situations? How do we mitigate that? That's what being having a mentor is all about. And then if we do get in a situation like that, how do we lose less money than we could have? Right? Like, how do I lose $5,000 instead of 40?
Yes.
So I think those are some things that I like.
Look, and that's one of the things when you start talking about the mindset shift when you get into real estate investing. You can't be attached to money like that, because that will make you make a bad decision. And if we're talking about $4,000, $5,000, and that's enough to crush you, right? That crushes your hopes and dreams. What are you going to do when you're looking at an apartment building? Just the inspection alone is going to be $4,000, right? If you're doing let's say you're doing a 10-unit apartment building, depending where you live, you're going to pay $4,000 or $5,000 just for the inspection. And what happens if that inspection reveals things that make it no longer a deal? You're going to walk away. You're going to chalk it up as a cost of doing business. So don't let the small money keep you from making a horrible decision. And that's something that a lot of people, it is what it is. And by the way, folks, we buy problems for a living. So as a real estate investor, you buy problems for a living. So part of training people how to be real estate investors isn't just showing them the mechanics of investing in real estate. It's showing them who they need to be in certain scenarios so they don't lose their mind in this space. All right. If you buy problems for a living, guess what you're going to encounter? Spoiler alert, problems. Okay. So we want to get people prepared for that. I think whether you're with our organization or not, there's one thing that you can do to prepare yourself for a lot of these ups and downs and these roller coasters is mastering the 4 data points. The 4 data points is 4 questions that we ask when we're considering any real estate asset. What does it cost? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? All right. Tavares, did you have something to add there? I saw you come off mute on Clubhouse.
We have a question. Sherry, would that be a tax deductible item for a loss?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sherry.
Yeah, absolutely. All the money that you spend on your business is, and by the way, folks, you always want to talk to a qualified professional, CPA, tax attorney, or whoever your qualified professional is where you live or who you engage with. I am legally allowed to consult on matters of real estate, and that's it. So when we start getting into entities and taxes and all types of other things, if I'm going in to do a certain type of investment that I haven't done in months, then I'll still consult a qualified professional to make sure that nothing's changed. But as far as I know, yes. And I can say that with 99.9% certainty. I know I do. So everything I spend in the course of business that impacts my business is there's going to be tax implications. So make sure you understand what those tax implications are. Go ahead, James. You got something you want to add?
Yeah, one of the things we haven't really mentioned is speed. There's a phrase, and I think it's boxing, that speed kills.
Yes.
That is true in real estate in reverse.
Yes.
So in the lending space, you want this stuff to happen fast. And in everything you do with your real estate investing, you want it to happen as fast as humanly possible. Everything gets worse and everything gets more expensive with time. All the time.
Yes. Yes.
You want to get these loans done in 2 weeks if possible. You want to get your rehabs done in a month if possible. Like, you got to get this stuff done. Like, you have to have urgency, because everything is going to get more expensive and everything is going to get worse with time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's kind of what we signed up for, when I decided to put this thing together. You're dealing with people that may not have the mindset yet of a seasoned real estate investor. It takes some thick skin. You're gonna take some on the chin, right? That's why you guys don't typically see me get too excited when somebody gets their first deal and is able to exit outside of their first deal, and you don't see me get too down in the dumps when somebody has a bad experience on their first deal. Because there's one thing that I can say with 100% certainty: both of those examples will switch experiences at some point. At some point, all right. But it's understanding how to mitigate risk. There's always good things about a deal and there's bad things, and you just have to be able to examine it thoroughly to determine whether or not the good things offset the bad things, or the bad things offset the good things. Well, I guess if they offset, that's equal, right? But you got to see what's worse. Is this good enough to where the bad thing doesn't really make the deal that bad, or is this bad enough to where the good thing doesn't really make the deal that good? Was that confusing enough? Did I confuse everybody? Good.
No, you got it. Well said.
My job is complete. All right. So what does it look like when somebody wants to become a real estate investor? And why do a lot of these systems that you see out there, these organizations, why does it not work? And I'll tell you guys. For one, the amount of time it takes to become a seasoned real estate investor is longer than just a couple months, all right? Because experience is what's going to catapult you into or through that seasoning process. So let's say you take a course, a real estate investing course. Let's say it's 6 weeks, all right? Now, you can learn something, but expectations need to be managed. Most of the experience or the learning opportunities come in the real world application of it. So if you're just taking a course and a course after a course after course, then, well, good luck. Because unless you're getting out there and doing it, like, I can read how to swim, right? I can read how to swim. Eventually I'm gonna have to jump in that pool. And if you don't get into the pool, then you're not going to get the results that you were looking for. But the way that the real estate investing education system is set up is people capitalize too much off of distributing the information and less on the support. Well, why is that? Because they can market the information to sell it to you and have you pay for it, and then they can market it to somebody else, and they can run people through this system as many times as they need. All right, because it doesn't cost them, because they already have it prepackaged and they already have a system in place, not just to market to you, but to distribute that information. And maybe they have a system of follow-up, and maybe they have some level of support, but you are not going to need that support until you're out there in the real world. So if you've gone through a course or a program, you really don't need them until after. So can you go back into that program? You can, if you write another check. In most cases, they're more than happy to welcome you back, but it's also going to be the same information that you got the first time you went through it. So that's why a lot of these programs don't work. That's why a lot of people find their way to us, And I'm not going to say which programs they are. That's not my job. It's up to you guys to ask the right questions when you're dropping $25,000, $30,000 for a program that we sell for $6,000. I'm sorry. Was that a shameless plug? Was that a shameless plug, James? That I just,
Yeah.
it
was all right. So, it's interesting. I was on a call with somebody recently, and they said something. I was like, yeah, I guess that's kind of true. So, I used to run car dealerships, obviously.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody, and they were like, yeah, it's kind of like buying a warranty on your car. And I was like, yeah, I guess it kind of is. Right? I remember I used to have these conversations with people before they bought the car.
Yes.
And I'd be like, hey, you should really buy the warranty. Nah, I don't need that.
Yes.
And then after they bought the car, hey, man, remember when I told you?
Yes. 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 And I get it all the time. I get it all the time. I get it all the time. And this is probably why I shouldn't take a lot of these calls. James is way better at these calls than I am. Because I tell you, there's a certain point, and some of you guys are already experiencing this in your respective fields.
I'm sure whatever you're saying is brilliant.
Oh, shoot. All right. 1 second. This freaking Clubhouse, man. This has got to be the. All right. All right. Hold on. Let's. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. This is Otis James. I'm from the 4 Data Points Academy. Shout out to Clubhouse for just kicking me out for no reason. They were like, just shut him off. Just shut him off. Actually, I don't think it's Clubhouse. I think it's this Roadcaster, and I'm on Clubhouse via Bluetooth. So I think it's a Bluetooth connection or whatever it is, but bear with me. But I have these conversations a lot with folks, and sometimes I have to tell myself, well, this is what you signed up for, right? There's so many things that are going to turn you into a seasoned real estate investor, and the mechanics of doing these deals is just one small component of that. The other is the mentality that you have to have, a healthy mentality, because you've got to keep going. Not always because of how you feel, sometimes in spite of how you feel. You got to keep going. You got to stay in the fight. And people put a lot of work into their first deal, and maybe it's a flip, or maybe they turn it into a long-term hold, and then they realize that, well, this one deal is not really changing my quality of life. And they don't, and a lot of the courses and educational platforms are designed so that you can learn how to get that first deal and do that deal. And the reason why they don't have the level of support that we do is because it's not cost effective for them to do that. You guys hear me say that all the time. It's not cost effective. Trust me. I know how uncost effective it is to offer that support long term, and they're not obligated to. So for us, we have a metric that gauges our success, and it's how many people we actually turn into real estate investors. And we don't always know what you're going to need. I think we did I forgot, was it the last broadcast that we did where I was just going over kind of some things that I did that day that for our real estate family that doesn't really show up on our brochure. So we have to be in a position to give people support no matter what the deal is, no matter what it is, whether that is reviewing contracts, whether that is helping with the scope of work, whether that is on the multifamily side. Sometimes I'll take the lead on some phone calls because we don't have anybody out there trying to figure out what to do next. All right. So when you guys are shopping around, I'm not saying don't take a course. I've taken courses. All right. I haven't, I took last year I took a course on buying and selling notes. I've actually bought and sold notes in real life, but I just haven't done it in a long time. So I took a course just to make sure that nothing's changed. And then halfway through it was just a 1-day thing, but halfway through it, I tapped out and I was like, all right, this is pretty much the same. So if you are not investing actively and you are in a course or some type of program, then you really need to make sure that the support is going to be there when you actually need it, because it can cost you something if it's not. All right. Now, how much? We got about 7 minutes. Let's rock out to some questions. Any questions about any aspect of real estate? James, did you have anything you wanted to add to what I just said? And shout out to
no, I do not. I'm finding the mute button, but no.
All right. All right. So we have Business Richard. Is this
Question
Rich?
Chat.
Go ahead.
I said no questions in the chat right now. A couple of comments. Jeffrey says you might be on too many platforms at once, Otis. any technology bites y'all.
Yeah, it does, man. It does. What's up? Okay. Yeah, it does. It does. But I think this is just this roadcaster here. Yeah, I got a couple roadcasters that I use to do these broadcasts, and I think it's the bass of my voice. That's what it is. The technology isn't ready for all this bass in my voice.
Sherry wants to. You're so silly. Sherry wants to know: does anybody know any mortgage advisors in New Jersey? If anybody knows anybody in Jersey, please put that in the chat. And then Jerome says the same thing. So Jerome and Sherry are looking for.
So we do that in no matter what state. So
cool.
Yeah, just email us.
Schedule an appointment.
Yeah, schedule an appointment on our website. There you go. All right, we got y'all taken care of. I'm telling y'all, I'm the end all be all. There's no after Otis. Whatever you need, we got you, baby. All right. I think we're gonna wrap it up then. We are going to wrap it up. We have somebody was trying to come up on stage on Clubhouse. What's up, Richard? I'm in New Jersey as well. All right, that's what's up. Let me see. Drew message earlier. It was all right. Okay. All right. So, folks, make sure that when you are lending or not lending, when you're approaching the lending process, just make sure you have all the information readily available for the people that you're going to be talking to. Sometimes, I don't want to put it all on the advisors, the mortgage advisors, because sometimes deals fall apart because they don't have all of the appropriate information. So make sure that there's a level of transparency. Otis is spelled with a D, brother. D is in David. All right, but thank you. Just make sure there's a level of transparency and make sure there's a sense of urgency when you guys are doing these deals. So if your lending person needs some documentation, get it to them immediately. Okay. James alluded to that earlier. Time is not your friend on the lending side. Create a sense of urgency, especially when you have an earnest money deposit already in the mix. All right. So we
go
ahead.
We got Sherry. Sherry says, for those signing up for the Eventbrite, is there anything they should have ready?
No, just come as you are. Just come as you are. Anything you need, I will give you. So for this virtual workshop that we have coming this Saturday at 9 a.m. California time, the link is, do you have the link you can put in the chat, Tavares? Oh, it's up top. All right.
No, the link at the top.
All right. So you can click that link. You folks on Clubhouse, you can click that link, and it's a free workshop. All right. So we're going to go a couple hours. We're going to beat the 4 data points to death. We'll offer an incentive to folks that join our real estate family at this workshop, cost incentive, because that's what we do. Because why, James? What's the importance of taking action, my friend?
Not sure where you're going with this.
It's important is kind of what I
making it happen.
Yeah, the timing's off now. It's just not even cool anymore.
We
were flowing.
I didn't know what the right response was.
Yeah, you just
besides that it's important.
Yes. I tried to throw it to you, but you looked at me like you weren't ready to catch it. You was like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say.
It's good to do.
Yes, thank you, James.
Thank you
for that.
Way to hit that one out of the park. It is good. It is smart. It is all right.
Hey, Jeremiah wants to know, can y'all go over seller finance after you get off of here?
Yeah, so we can go over it right now. Seller financing, folks, is 2 documents. And just because someone is willing to seller finance you a property still doesn't mean it's a good deal. So there's a process that always supersedes anything else that you're going to do. And it's answering those 4 questions. What does it cost? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? If you want the guide to be able to do that basic analysis, you can go to 4datapoints.net, not 4datapoints.com, our website, but you can go to 4datapoints.net. There's a landing page there where you can download the guide for free. You can also access it through our website, 4datapoints.com too, but that's a shortcut. All right.
Yeah, it was Jeremiah. He wants to go over his specific deal.
Oh, his specific deal. Oh, yeah, Jeremiah.
Yeah.
All right. Co-host. Okay, this person invites you to co-host. No, I'm not doing that. All right, folks, we can roll out now. I think we're ready. Yeah. So that workshop is this Saturday. 9 a.m. California time. We also have, if you go to our website under upcoming events, we also have a Washington, D.C. workshop that's in person. We are going to be flying out there, checking out the city, and we're going to do something cool out there. I wish we could do more of these. I'm going to start doing some more virtual workshops, maybe on a monthly basis, if we have the bandwidth. And, I think people will benefit from that, right? I've been doing the free stuff for over 4 years. When did we get on this platform? Really early 2021. Because I want people to, I want people to be exposed to real estate investing, and I want to bring it to the average everyday person, right? And show people that it's not as much of a far off dream as you think. It just has to be approached the right way. The problem is there's so many people being sold a dream that they pay all this money for a bad experience, and it kind of scares them out of the process, right? They're like, well, and again, I always joke and say everybody finds their way to us eventually. James, how many people we have in our program, James, that came from other programs, if you had to guess?
Oh, probably a third.
Yeah, I was about to say probably about 30% came from some of these other outfits, right? But at the same time, look, the people that run those other outfits, they got boats and airplanes. I ain't got no boat. I'm starting to rethink a few things. That being said, if there's no more questions, Jeremiah, I will go ahead and call you directly, and we can go over your situation. Okay. After this. All right. There is no questions on any other platform. I really need somebody on TikTok helping me run the TikTok one, so I'm probably missing questions on there too, but I'm only one person, folks. That being said, anybody on stage got anything they want to add before we get out of here? I wish I had some music. I don't.
Nope, that's all.
All right. Somebody said me. Okay. Y'all come to DC. It's going to be an amazing time. It actually is. And what city should we do after DC? James, Taurus, where y'all want to? We typically do, for you guys that aren't familiar.
Every time you ask me, I'm going to say the same thing. Florida.
Florida. All right. We typically do. So the city that we've done, and we've done these cities multiple times. So Miami, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale. We haven't done Tampa
or we can do one outside the country. DR, Colombia.
These folks ain't flying outside. They ain't going outside. I'm gonna do a trip outside to Medellin. I'm gonna put one together, but it ain't gonna be cheap. We typically do, so what we do: Orlando, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Charlotte is really good. We did Charlotte twice. DC, I've done 4 times. But I was doing DC with my smaller groups at first. What else? Philadelphia, we did 1 time. That will be the last time we go to Philadelphia. New York, Chicago. We did Chicago. I've done Chicago about 3 or 4 times. Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, LA, Long Beach, Oakland. I will not be doing Oakland for a minute. It's too close to home, man. I was doing it.
Sherry said you blocking her on IG or what?
No.
Memphis. We are not going to Memphis.
We ain't going to Memphis. We may go to Nashville. We may go to Nashville, but
Nashville's nice.
I don't know about Memphis.
How about Ohio?
How about no? You gotta get the you gotta get the how about no? we may do Vegas, but I don't really like going into Las Vegas. So we may do, so if we get enough, you guys reach out to us and let us know where you want us to come, and then we'll consider. As long as it's a major market. Somebody was like, why don't you come out to, what was it like? Why don't you come out to St. Louis? Yeah, man, we're probably not going to do that. If there's no major airport there, we're probably not going to. It's not cost effective for us to do it. But that being said, check our website. Continue to check our website under upcoming events. It's Johnny Carter in the building under upcoming events, and you guys can see that. Right now, it's just going to be Washington, D.C. in July. We're going to do something for Q4. I just don't know what city yet. We keep these, in small groups so that we can make sure that people actually learn the stuff that we're doing. And we can work with people workshop style at the end so that they understand these concepts. Amen. Shay said, yes, Florida. Okay, well, we're going to see. We're going to see. Shout out to, Who's the governor of Florida? Is it DeSantis? Is he the Florida governor? James? Who's governor of Florida?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Shout out to Florida. I like their gun laws. I like their sheriffs. I like their approach to law enforcement. All right, folks, we are out. Shout out to everybody on TikTok who liked all 2,000 likes. All right, that was nice. Thank you very much to all those folks that were on TikTok. Shout out to the folks that were on Instagram and Facebook. We will be back Thursday morning, 9 a.m. California time. If there's any information that you need as far, and folks, look, let me just say this. If you do schedule a call about,
And perfect timing. You cutting out again.
all right, hold on. Hold on. All right. Okay. All right. And
Goodpoints.com.
and I'm back. This is great, right? I only had to leave 3 times today. That's all right. All right, we're gonna do that.
4. It was 4.
Was it 4 times today? All
It
right.
was 4.
All right, that's what's up. Shout out to
You know, your theme song, you should run that intro. Allow me to reintroduce myself.
4 times. Folks, if you do schedule a call with us, check out our website first. We are not a nonprofit, right? And I know there are some people out there that would like me to mentor them personally forever, because that's what we don't have an end date, for absolutely free. I know that is not the case. So check our website and let's have a conversation. We are out. This is I don't know. I don't even know if I'm gonna post this. I don't know if I'm gonna post